All right, I think it's time to call the meeting to order. Can we start with a roll call, please?
Lemons, here. Kamal,
Here.
Pantera, here. Pisaneski,
Here.
Plenty,
Here,
all board members present.
thank you. And next is introductions. Let me start with new Board of Trustee members. We had 2 vacancies that have recently been filled. And I'm going to invite each of the new members to just say a few words about why they wanted to join the Board of Trustees. First, Reshma Kamal.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reshma Kamal. My motivation to join the board was working on the global literature section of the library that reflects our community diversity that Boise has, and it keeps on growing. And then, of course, work on adding more libraries to our community. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Ron Pisaneski.
Yeah, I guess I joined, was interested in joining the board just because of my background in public television, having that sort of intersection of providing cultural, educational resources to the public, and some of the intersection of providing content that sometimes people find difficult be able to manage and navigate that area. And then just interest, obviously, have a huge appreciation for the work that the library does and the important role it plays in the community. To be part of it.
Thank you. We're excited to have you both. And we have a larger than usual group here today. Jesse, you want to do some introductions?
Yes, thank you. I thought I will take the privilege of having a larger introduction of staff. For those of the 3 of you that have been on the board for years know them very well, but I'm excited to for any board members to get to meet them. So the first person I was going to introduce is Carrie Davis, who is very hard at work making sure that these meetings go off smoothly, which she does a fabulous job of. She also serves as the liaison to the city for the Board of Trustees. So she is the person who is your first point of contact for any questions related to board meetings or city meetings. So you all have her email address. She's also our institutional knowledge, having worked at the library for a very long time. We know that something is new if Carrie Davis has never heard of it, and then it's a real issue. So, I've got Josh Chappelle, who is our events coordinator. We'll be hearing from him later today, but he is the person who really manages and supports some of the larger events that we do throughout the year. Oh my gosh. Sitting next to him, Ashley Hammond is our mental health coordinator. This was a position that was added to the library last year. And so she has been doing a fabulous job making us better connected, have resources across the city. And as we have really seen an uptake in some of the needs in our community, is really helping us show up for the community. Next to her is Renee Addington, who is the branch manager at Colin Eustick. You'll be hearing from her and Josh today later. She's wearing our Boise Comic Arts Festival shirt, so I think you'll know what she will be talking about. But she's one of our really fabulous branch managers. Next to her is Kathy Stalder, who is the head of our technical services. That means she also oversees collection development. So you'll hear a lot from her talking about our collection, both print and digital, and how we really make sure we have a diverse collection that is well used and really is something that the community has the formats when and how and where they want. Next to her is Lindsay Erb, who works with the city in our public works. So she'll be one of the people that you'll hear will talk about our facilities. She's particularly involved right now in investments we have at this downtown location. Coming around the corner, we've got Emily Johnson. She's our Chief Operating Officer. So she is the person who really oversees all of our connections with other city departments and really make sure that we're managing our projects well. Next to her is Heidi Lewis, who is somebody who's very well known for current board members. She led our strategic planning process. she will be coming back to you today, or you'll get to hear her talk about policy, which we're so in a different role, but she oversees this location. Next to her is Josh Fletzinger, who is our communications manager with the city. And so he is our person who really is involved with all the materials that we put together, and you actually have some of the work that he has done with us on your desk.
Sorry, your name is Josh. Yeah, it's okay. Know that Josh.
I know, I'm flying through this. There won't be a quiz. You will hear from them throughout the year. But it's really great to be able to put a name and face on them at the first meeting for our new trustees. Sean Wilson, who you will be hearing from later today, is a senior manager with Public Works. And we'll be talking about the facilities plan that we're planning. And then last but not least, we've got Lynette Gould, who is our finance manager, and she does a lot of the work on budget. So her role was very heavily involved in the FY24 budget build. And then she'll also, this role really does then any rebudgeting at the end of the year. So we probably won't be hearing from her today, but we love that she's with us because she gives us great support, as do all of the fabulous staff. So thank you for allowing me a little more time for questions.
Great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Last but not least, Ed Jewell. You're sitting at the table, so I missed him. He's our legal representative. He's the person who really makes sure that we are following all of our statutes and can help with any questions.
All right, that takes us to the minutes. You should have received in your meeting packet a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. It's a little difficult for our new members since you weren't here for it. So the burden falls on Vicki and Rebecca and me to say that the minutes are consistent with the proceedings as we recall them. Can I get a motion on the minutes, please?
I move to approve the minutes for the previous meeting.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, then motion is carried and the minutes are approved. And now we can move on to the consent agenda. This is the annual review of the bills and payroll and expense reports. They're all summarized in this folder. I need to get everyone's signature. So Nikki, Ron, and Reshma, before you go, I need to get your signature on these, assuming we get through the vote and approve them. We package these together in a consent agenda because it's not normally something we want to take the time to talk about in this meeting unless there's an issue or a question. So board trustees should always feel comfortable saying there's an issue I want to discuss. We prefer to have the questions submitted to the staff in advance so they can just be discussed as part of the course of the meeting with preparation. But it's never too late to ask a question about the expenses. Having said that, I'm going to assume we've all read the reports, payment of bills and payroll and financial reports, and we can proceed to approve these under the consent agenda. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move the approval of the items on the consent agenda as presented.
All right, get your first motion out of the way.
There you go.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. The motion is carried. Don't forget to sign before you leave. That takes us to the reports section. The first report is from Jill Johnson, the president of the Friends of the Boise Public Library. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Just a couple of quick things today. We will be having our September sale, September 14th to 16th at the Hillcrest branch. The first day will be members only, but we plan to be selling memberships at the door. So we look forward to having a good turnout there to stomp all over Hillcrest's new floors. And then at the beginning of November, we have running from November 3rd to the 12th, we're planning an online auction. We've got some great vintage and really neat items, including a first edition of Jack London's Call of the Wild. So bring your bidding paddles and get online and help raise some money for the library. We're really looking forward to that as well. And we continue our recruitment for board members. We've had a really good response. But if anyone has any other names that they would like to submit to us, please head on over to either our Instagram or our Facebook page, where all the instructions are for how to apply to join the board of the Friends.
And the Friends activities normally were conducted in this building. With some of the remodeling things going on, they've had to move across the street into some vacant space, which isn't quite as suitable for their needs, and they've had to curtail some of their activities until the upgrade is done and they can move back in. Any questions for Jill? How's it going, by the way? Did I describe your situation accurately?
Oh yeah, the hits just keep on coming, but our volunteers are amazing and they are rolling on. We're super excited to be able to have a sale and are very thankful to Hillcrest for hosting us. Huda Shaltry, the branch supervisor there, has been amazing. And I don't have this firmly tied down yet, but I also understand that we're going to be able to do a nonprofit and educator day at the end of the sale, which we have not been able to do when we've been at Maine, just because we need to turn the room over faster. So fingers crossed that that could come off, because I know that that is extremely beneficial to a lot of other nonprofits and teachers all across the valley to get some extra materials into their hands at bargain basement prices.
Any questions for Jill? Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
The next report is from Brian Manship, the chair of the Boise Public Library Foundation. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Good morning. Pleasure to be here. And I'm actually really excited. There are some exciting things happening on the Library Foundation currently that I'm happy to report. Most of you will remember that perhaps a month or two ago, we were looking for some new board directors to join us after a period of 3 years where we weren't growing because of some COVID and a few other things. We were looking for some new life, I guess, to join the board. And I'm so happy to report that we have 2 new directors on the board of the foundation. The first one is Brandon Carpin. Brandon Carpin is longtime Boisean. He is currently the Deputy General Counsel for the Idaho Army National Guard. And he expressed some deep interest in the library, is an avid user of the library, and he brings a lot of good ideas as well as talent to the board. So we're excited to have Brandon. He joined us last meeting last week. The second one is Meredith Turner. Meredith Turner joined the board, and she joined us last week as well. She is currently the senior, let me get her title right, senior marketing manager for Amazon Web Services. Once again, she longtime Boisean. She moved away for a period of time, but has moved back to Boise and was very excited about getting involved in the library. Has a lot of interest in the library growing and developing and its role in the community. And we're very excited to have Meredith join us as well. So that's the first bit of really good news. We are actively involved and getting real close to our full involvement in Boise Comic Arts Festival with our commitment to sponsor at a $60,000 level. We have been working on sponsorships and donations that would offset some of that as well, which have come in. So we're excited about those new sponsorships and donations. We've cut the first checks totaling only $1,000, but we're excited to support 5 youth. I think they're called mentees, or for the Boise Comic Arts Festival as well. And so they are funded at $200 a piece, for a total of $1,000. Our first contribution to that to BCAF, the rest of it coming very shortly. So that will happen first part of September. And that's pretty much what we're involved in. We're also excited, part of our sponsorship, that the foundation will be on site at the zoo for Boise Comic Arts Festival with a table, a tent, a kiosk there, to more than anything bring awareness to the foundation, let people know who we are, our role in bringing awareness of the library to our community, as well as raising funds and friends for the library. So we're excited about that opportunity as well, in addition to our financial sponsorship. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Any question for Brian? Thanks very much for your report, Brian.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And the final report on the agenda is from Jessica Dorr, the library director.
Thank you, Brian. I just have a couple things I want to add to the written report that was in your packet. First off, you'll see that we have a nearly final draft of our 2022 report to the community. So this is one of the items that came directly from our strategic plan, not knowing what the library does. So this is our first real concerted effort to be using the opportunity to reflect back to the community some of the work that we had done in the previous year, and really trying to highlight the different impacts that we make, and then also really give people an opportunity to see the breadth of everything that the library does. So hot off the press, it'll be probably up on the library website later this week with the rest of our strategic planning materials. We will be doing a launch to the public this Friday. That will have materials up on the website. We'll do a social media push, and we'll actually have physical materials, posters, brochures, handouts in other locations as well. I do want to do a quick facilities update since the flooring has been mentioned. We had a very successful first launch of our flooring projects at Cole and Eustick earlier this month, where we did close the building with the most services except for curbside. While that new flooring was put down, it was a fabulous effort, really full library effort, where we brought in people from all locations to literally move every single book off the shelf, put them out of the way of where the carpet was, and then to have that come in. And we can help you if you have a major project with that. We've got people that do playlists. We've got people that can figure out how you put your shelving one place and put it back. It went really well and it looks beautiful. So with that experience, we're going to do Hillcrest next. And so starting on, on Saturday, the 19th, actually, so this week, do I have the right date? So 21st Monday is the day that we will be closed. We'll be closed the whole week from Monday, August 21st through Saturday, August 26th. And unlike Cole and Eustick, where we could run curbside out the back of the building, because we are doing every floor square inch, we can't have anybody in the building. It'll be closed to the public. So that means we won't be running curbside out of Hillcrest. It also means our book drops will be closed, and any book that we had on the shelf at Hillcrest, we won't be able to pull it for somebody on hold. So that is the one real difference between the two, since we just can't do any of, we don't have any of the option where some of the staff stuff in Cole and Eustick was available. So we want to thank everybody for their patience. This really does enable those work crews to get in as quickly as possible. So that really is just the best way that we could do to make sure that we are mitigating the downtime. And it's also fun because then our staff for those locations get to go to other places. Some of them went on vacation, but also got to help out with outreach at other locations. And as you probably notice, we've got a lot of work here downtown. There's still people up on our roof. We've got, if you may have noticed, the public bathrooms on the first floor are now blocked off. We've got giant pipes came in today, so that work is going very well. And again, we're moving stuff around. I don't know if you might have noticed also, we moved the graphic novels that are on the first floor up to the third floor. So we really encourage anyone in the public, if you don't know where something has moved, please ask staff. Because we put up little notes that say, pardon our dust, we're under construction. But we know that sometimes it's hard to find where things are, so we want to make sure people get what we've really made it a priority to try to keep as much material available for the public, but sometimes it may be in a place that you're not expecting. We will send a note about this, but I do want to put on your calendars. The city of Boise is providing legal training for all boards and commissioners. This is something that they did last year. I believe, Brian, you went to
I
it.
enjoyed it.
They'll have 2 more dates where they have this available. It is Wednesday, September 20th, from 11:30 to 1, and then again Thursday, September 28th, from noon to 1:30. These will be at City Hall. This is an opportunity for everybody who's on a board or commission to come for training, and it includes topics such as open meeting laws, ethics, public records requests, and Robert Rules of Order, which I think, are you doing Robert Rules of Order again?
Goodness.
So stay tuned for that, the email about that suggestion. And finally, actually a couple more things. A follow-up from last meeting, one of the great suggestions that the current board members had for the new board members was to have a sort of annual cadence of the business of the board. And so we've been working on that, and we are probably going to be able to have a copy of that for you for the October meeting. And then looking to September, yesterday was the last day of summer reading, which is our flagship summer program, although I know prices can still be picked up. So your children can definitely look forward to that. But we'll make sure that you have a wrap up of that program in your packet. And then we're also going to bring back some of the staff that were involved in the summer learning opportunity, which really was a pilot that we're going to be expanding, and just had some great learnings and some real impact in reaching new user groups that we hadn't been able to before. So for that, if there's any questions?
One thing not mentioned, I think, is your team conducted onboarding sessions for the new trustees.
We're scheduling, yeah, onboarding sessions. Yeah, we had some vacation that it was August, so we had some vacation, but we're getting close to
Okay.
schedule.
Well, you have that to look forward to. I'd come too, but 3 of us constitutes a quorum and we can't do it. So that takes us to old business, and one of the things we do every meeting of every month is review library policies. This is one of the fundamental duties specified in the state and city laws for the Board of Trustees. And so there's a schedule where the staff picks out several policies each week. We roll through them and study them in advance, get a chance to ask questions, and then they're presented here in a meeting. So that's what's going on over the course of the year. It all comes together. You'll see this in your onboarding package. You'll get a copy of all of the policies and regulations and other things, and see what we're going to be reviewing over the course of the coming year. With that brief introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Maine Library Manager Heidi Lewis to cover this month's policies.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for letting me join you, and welcome to the Maine Board of Trustee members. So we're going over section 6, gifts and bequests. It'll be page 13 of your packet. So policy 6.01 covers gifts, and policy 6.02 covers facility naming. We recommend no changes to section 6 of the policy manual. And then we're also talking about section 8 today. So we have section 8, which covers displays and exhibits. That should be on page 15 of your packet. So displays is policy 8.01. Regulation 8.01A covers display cases. Exhibit 8.01B covers loaned object display agreement, and policy 8.02 covers bulletin boards. We've got one more. Regulation 8.02A covers bulletin board guidelines, and we recommend no changes to this section of the policy manual either.
Any questions or comments? So we often have a lot of discussion about the policies. It turns out that these particular policies we reviewed pretty thoroughly and had a lot of discussions about a year ago. So I'm not surprised there's not a lot of new things to talk about. Thank you for the review.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that takes us to new business. And we're going to start off with Sean Wilson, the Municipal Facilities Program Senior Manager, and Emily Johnson, Chief Administration Officer, take us through the Master Facilities Plan, which just to just summarize, we're starting to see and feel around us. We're all pretty happy about that.
And so this is where you get to see the partnership in action between city departments, where we've got Emily for the library and Sean for Public Works, who will be presenting on this together. And this really is, in some cases, it'll be a review for our previously current board members, and now we're bringing on two new. So we wanted to make sure it's something that's important that all five of you have the same understanding of the work that the library will be starting in FY '24 with the money that we had requested for this work.
All right, I will kick us off and then Sean will get to talk about the fun stuff. So re-click. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the strategic planning baseline and then Sean will go over some potential directions for facilities planning and next steps. So again, just to kind of catch everybody up to speed, we launched a strategic planning process about 18 months ago, and really it was an interesting time in the world. COVID was around, we had new leadership at the library, we experienced a lot of growth in the city, so we didn't want to walk in with any assumptions. We really wanted to lead with listening as we began the strategic planning process, recognizing all the change that had happened in our community, again, some of the factors that I had mentioned. So we really spent time and effort making sure that we were out in the community and that we were listening. So what did the community want and need from a library so that we could use that to guide our strategic planning process? So we conducted several community listening events. We had a community survey that received thousands of responses. It was a really interactive process, gave folks in our community a chance to talk about what they liked about the library, what they were missing, what they'd like to see. We took all of that information together, and then you can click forward. And this was our timeline that we kicked off. So again, starting in spring, really taking the time to listen, engage with the community, key partners, key stakeholders, not just in the community, but within the city as well. We brought all that information together, spent a lot of time looking at it, reviewing it, analyzing it. We were able to update our vision, mission, and value statement with that and create a plan to really help meet the need and what we heard from the community. It's not uncommon in our office to hear, we heard very strongly from the community that they want X as far as library services or locations or materials. And so using all of that input, we drafted a strategic plan, which was approved by the board. And now we're in the fun stage of implementing that plan. And one of those factors includes what we're here to talk about today, the facility planning. So I told Sean I'd talk for 30 seconds.
All right.
May have gone over a little, but that's what we want to talk about today is that process.
So I'll take the next 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, we'll make it fast. Facilities plan, so we had a budget, should be approved. There's still a hearing in August, I think, or a reading to get the budget approval in August. But we did get a few $100,000 to work on facilities planning, some staffing planning, some other things related to that as a result of what we heard from the community out of the strategic plan. So before we get started, which would be in October, we start ramping up. We wanted to kind of baseline with the board and make sure we all, like from 100,000 foot down, we all agree this is what facilities planning is. So what does it mean? So in kind of really high level general terms, facilities planning is baselining your existing assets. So what's our current state, essentially? What's the age of them? How much square footage do we have? Where they're geographically located? Does it support the programming that we heard the community wants? Strategic planning. Here's our baseline. Second step is looking at growth projections. So we have our modern zoning code going through this year, which is a little different from compass projections. And we want to make sure that as we look at what does the future state look like, it matches up with zoning code. So if there's certain density of areas, want to make sure we understand what that future state in Boise looks like in 20 years, as we're projecting, like, how do we close the gap? And then kind of the last is, how do you close the gap? So there's our existing state, there's a future state, from growth and all the other things that belong to that future state. And how do you get to that? So that third step is all the alternatives to get to that. And can't go up on the second slide. Yeah, so on the alternatives, like developing alternatives, kind of how we look at this. And Emily and I have talked a lot about this. We're kind of outcome agnostic. It really is community driven. Like, we're gonna have opinions for sure. I love libraries and I want stuff in certain places, but you really have to listen to the community on what direction you go on the alternatives. You evaluate stuff based on strategic planning goals. Those community driven. So they drove, here's what we want. And that's kind of your starting point. Reach back out to the community while we're developing alternatives. Lots of public engagement, okay, does this make sense? Does that make sense? And I always think of, when I think of facilities planning, it's not a static thing. It's kind of hey, I'm here and I want to get to New York. There's 50 paths to get there. And you're trying to okay, what are the first few years worth of paths? You gotta finance stuff, that comes with the implementation plan. There's a lot involved with how do you execute that as you move forward. So in kind of summary, we're kicking off. We'll be back for sure. There'll be a lot more communication on this. This is really just a baseline on kind of here's the direction for facilities planning. One thing we are, Emily and I are working on just in the interim to start informing the budget cycles. We're going to do a gap analysis, and that is really okay, we know there's a future state existing, and it might be based more on metrics or benchmarks, but if there's a square footage deficiency found, we want to start informing the budget cycles. So we're going to do a little bit of a jump start on the early part of facilities planning, just to get that moving. So we'll be back to communicate that. But the other part is getting an expert on board. So I think we're going to probably do a request for qualifications, find an expert who does this type of work, and get them set up so they can start in the next fiscal year. So it's about 5 minutes. Any questions?
Yeah, question.
I guess the questions.
Perfect.
So I know the city has this overarching, I guess, zero environmental impact kind of goal. And I just wondered how libraries writ large play into it in terms of either retrofitting them to make them more energy efficient, or as you're developing new libraries, how does that, and is there sort of funds immediately set aside to address that kind of stuff, since it's part of the city's overarching global goal?
Chair, board members, we have a climate change group in Public Works, and it's kind of overarching with all the departments. So we look at our facilities, we look at our vehicles, we look at kind of everything, and particular to facilities, we look at energy intensity, EUI, energy, forget what the acronym is, but we're trying to bring all of our buildings' energy use down. And so we target, for new construction, we always target super low goals, make sure the envelope's good, all of that, put solar on a lot of them. But it's throughout the departments. So it's not I don't know if I'm answering your question. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but we look at existing buildings, new buildings, like this building, for example, part of our remodel. We're looking at making sure to get all the lights back to LED. There's some older lighting. We're studying the envelope, trying to figure out, okay, what windows might be still left as single windows, and how do we incorporate that into the remodel? The geothermal, can we take more advantage of their geothermal connection to the building? And so it's not a clear answer, but it's kind of integrated into everything we do to try to drive towards that goal.
So it isn't as if the city has a group that's just looking at, say, solar panels and putting them on all of the appropriate buildings in the city. And so they, as you're developing, as you're redoing the roof here, for example, was that a consideration? Or is it really individual project at a time is all of the energy issues are addressed?
It's kind of, it's an umbrella. So we always look at it with projects, but we try to always, we're getting informed by it. So the umbrella drives sort of the planning and policy on how we attack stuff. And then as projects come in, we try to fit into, okay, what's the best approach for this project that fits into the bigger planning effort? Like solar is a really good one because there's buying renewables, and is that more cost effective than actually having distributed solar with buildings? And it's tied to Idaho power tax credits, ARPA funds, all, yeah, so it keeps changing. And so we're, with our projects, we're trying to adapt to what is the umbrella policy to get the best return on investment we can.
Sean, last time I asked you about hurry cases, I think you said that's a Boy Scout first aid term. I think you mentioned the roof was a hurry case and some plumbing issues were hurry cases. Anything new or any other safety or potential risk reduction things going on?
The only other one that we're kind of looking at is our electrical system in the building. It's very old. There was a power outage. It all came back and that worked out great, but we're studying that a little more to see if we want to upfront that in the major repair and maintenance remodel program. Yeah. And then the fire pump, I think I mentioned that.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're doing that now. Yeah.
Okay, so good progress.
Yeah, making great progress. It's very exciting.
All right, any other questions for Sean?
This had, we have, maybe this is a premature question, but we have, the petition that's been circulated and that came up already in the strategic plan, as well as I think other kind of comments related to facilities. And I think the response has been, we're working on the facilities plan, but do we have some, I assume we're going to include the input we've already gotten somehow in this plan too. Will we just kind of pass that on to the consultant so they can consider that?
Yeah. So
Or I guess, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, because the strategic plan, we like board input and community group input, and I would think we'd want the same specific to facilities.
So the way I kind of interpret this, like strategic, when you do the strategic planning, it kind of outlines your executive sort of level service goals. And now that we know those, we could dig into more details to how to inform those goals with additional community input. And then,
There'll be a lot of community opportunity for community
Yeah.
input, so we can get that input as well as the rest. So we've got a bigger picture of the community. Yep. That's part of going out for a professional, somebody who does this, who knows how to engage with the community, ask the right questions, so that we're truly using the community to inform.
I just want to make sure we're listening to like what
Yes.
we've already heard and
Yes.
acknowledging that.
And Sean's right, as we
Yeah.
get further in, we'll have different questions to ask, so we'll need to go back out and this is where we are, how does that sound? So I'm using an expert to help us make sure we're listening and continually listening.
Yeah.
So we can stay outcome agnostic.
Which
is hard.
And we'll find more tactical goals too, then as we talk to the community. I feel like we have the overarching now, we need more tactical, so we start getting after specific things.
Yeah, one sort of follow-up, when we kind of go back out and get this input, how much kind of information will people have on, and particularly like the state of facilities? Because I know as a board member now, I've sat through kind of the state of this building a few times, and that I wasn't really aware of that before being on this board. So I don't know if there's a way we could kind of get what the current picture is out to people so that they can provide sort of really informed input, I think would be useful. I guess that's a placeholder for down the line, but I mean, I was just thinking when I sat through some of these conversations, you guys have done a good job keeping us all informed, but like, generally speaking, people wouldn't know that.
I would imagine those will be part of the conversations, so people are Yeah, because I think there's some misinformation, or I don't know, I think people need to know, we have the existing assets, we're looking at any potential new assets, but we have to address both of them in the plan.
Right.
It's not just new building. So I think that's
Sure.
important in those conversations for people to understand that. How that looks, I don't know. We'll probably lean on the experts to help us with that, but I think that's a super important piece of that conversation.
I think that's really important too, because with the previous facilities plan, it built 4 branch locations in a very short amount of time. And actually, part of why we just did the floors at Cole and Ustick is that was that was probably beyond actually where they should have been replaced. So we really do need to be making sure that we have a good process in place for knowing how we need to keep the amazing assets that we have now, which are really new. We want to keep them also up, so that we're not looking at a fire pump that should have been replaced much earlier than it is being replaced. So it is important to have that ongoing investment in the facilities that we currently have, as well as the city's growing, how we're sure we're planning to keep up with growth.
So, sorry.
Well, can I have one thing to
Yeah.
that too? Is, so library switched over to public works in terms of maintenance, October this fiscal year. And so we are inputting all of this into our asset management system. So we have everything scheduled over the next 10 years, becoming much more forecast oriented versus downtown library trying to react to kind of a deferred maintenance situation. So.
Yeah, and I'm not meaning to criticize. I know the same, like state facilities, it's very common to have a huge deferred maintenance backlog. I just wanted to make sure people like understand the full picture, so.
We're getting
yeah.
after it.
that was actually, you answered the question I was going to
All
ask.
right.
Okay, Sean, Emily, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And that takes us to Josh Chappelle, Library Events Coordinator, and Renee Addington, the Library at Cole and Ustick Branch Manager, to talk to us about Comic Arts Festival number 11.
We promised the 3 returning board members that this would be a short agenda for this month, but we wanted to make sure we had something fun for everyone. So we are thrilled that we've got Josh and Rebecca.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to join you today and talk about Boise Comic Arts Festival. As I mentioned, this is going to be our 11th year doing this event. This picture is from last year where we hosted it at the zoo. So a little bit for new board members and just for everybody about the event itself. So Boise Comic Arts Festival is a free annual community event. It celebrates comics and the creative community in Boise. It's now in its 11th year. As I mentioned, we started it in 2013, started this Library Comic-Con, and eventually we rebranded it over the years. And it's grown to become the largest comics-focused event in Idaho. We have some other conventions that are fan-focused, but this is definitely something where the celebrities for us, the people we bring in, the people we really focus on are people who create comics, whether writers or artists, letterers. And so this year, the event will be taking place the end of September, the 29th through October 1st. And the venues that we're going to be at this year are the zoo again, Idaho State Museum. We have plans to spread further out into Julie Davis Park this year. And then we're also adding Irma Hayman House, which is exciting for us. So why do we do it? There's a number of reasons. One of the big ones is to increase economic opportunities for local creators. So it gives folks who create artwork and things related to comics culture an opportunity to get out there in front of the public and share their work with them and to sell their creations. We also do it to engage reluctant readers. So comics are a great way for folks who are younger, folks who are just learning how to read, who maybe see a book that's full of words and maybe a little bit hesitant about just picking that up because it's just overwhelming comics are a great way to engage with those readers, start them on the path to reading, and then they go from there to reading other books. We help foster creativity and build community. There's so many folks that I get a chance to sort of gather together, network, meet as a result of this event that may not have a forum to do that otherwise. We want to increase the understanding of the art, history, and business of comics. So our programming that goes along with the events, panels and workshops, delves into the process of creating comics, the business of comics, and with those, we have professional creators that we bring in, and they're the people who we really focus on, and they share that information about their experiences with working at comics. And then most recently, and this is exciting, and Renee will talk a little bit more about this, we've started last year a couple of new programs, our Teen Comics Mentorship Program and our Librarians and Educators Day. So we're working to support teachers and librarians and upcoming and new creators in the community as well. So last year, we had 3 days of events. We added a third day, which was new, and that's the Librarians and Educators Day, which is on Friday. We'll be doing that again this year. We had 31 people participate in that day. It's sort of a limited registration only attendance. So there's a smaller number that we can accommodate for that. On Saturday, which is the big day at the zoo, we had just a little over 6,000 people. And then Sunday, we had some stuff at the library and at the State Museum. We had a little over 1,000 people. So last year we had 7,000 people attend the event. And we brought in 25 guest creators. We had over 60 exhibitors and vendors. And we had library staff and volunteers, which run the event. 61 folks helped us out with it, which is amazing. And so these are a couple of quotes that we got last year. One, the bottom one was a response to, we sent out a survey after the event to the public and to our the vendors and exhibitors and everybody. So these are some quotes that were shared with us. The first one is from the mother of one of our teen mentorship participants. We had 3 teenagers participate last year. And the second is from someone who's who attended the event with their son. And I just think they're great examples of, once again, why we do it and the value that this brings to the community. Being able to help folks find their people, I think is such a great way to put it. And then Renee's gonna talk a bit about what the event features.
Yeah, so our event has a lot of different elements, many of which you would find at any comic convention. So that includes our Artists Alley, which this year will be spread throughout the zoo, where it will be focused on our guest creators that we bring in from out of state. We also have some guest creators who are locals or are in Idaho or Utah. So that is a way that has really helped us build a comics community. And we've even been able to put some of those folks in touch with other libraries in Idaho and foster that expanding community. It also includes, I think we're up to about 100 local vendors and exhibitors. So those are folks who, they might be comics creators in their own right. They might make comics related merchandise or something like 3D printing or STEM that's engaged with the comics community, cosplayers, all sorts of folks. We will have gaming going on at the Idaho State Museum. So we have a really great partner in a local board game company that is working with us. They do live demos. They bring in their board game library so people can play. They're facilitating a board game swap we've done the last couple of years. We also have role-playing games that we have some staff members who work as DMs, which is dungeon masters, who facilitate games, and some lovely volunteers who help us out with those as well. So for folks who maybe want to try out a new game or they are new to RPGs, it's a great low stakes opportunity for them to engage with that. We have our cosplay and comic creation contest. So our comic creation contest is going on right now. It's open for all ages. We get submissions from 3-year-olds. We get submissions from 70-year-olds. We love all of them. They're incredible. And we display the art at the contest. And we also have our cosplay contest
at the event. So that includes kids, teens, adults, and dogs, which is my favorite and my baby project. It's just a fantastic opportunity to see people of all age get to engage and share their passion with others. And then we have a ton of all ages activities to keep everyone in the family entertained. So this includes things that staff and volunteers facilitate, like our superhero training camp that we do for kids. We do button making with old comics that we have. We have a couple great groups who come and do performances and activities for us, like the Idaho Lego Users Group always does open Lego building. There's this fantastic local group called Wrestle Club that does these like absurd WWE style performances. It's so much fun. And then educational opportunities. This is something that's always been a really big part of BCAF and previously Comic-Con. We always offer panels and workshops on a variety of topics. They are targeted at all different levels of interest and age groups, and also some of it's like hands-on creating, some of it's getting the opportunity to engage with some of your creators, some of it's just learning more about the history and culture of comics. And like Josh mentioned, last year we were able to introduce a couple new programs that we just absolutely love doing. So one is the Librarians and Educators Day we do at the Idaho State Museum the day before the event. This is great. It lets us bring librarians and educators together with each other and with local creators. It also gives us the opportunity to partner with some other groups like Boise School District and the Idaho Mission for Libraries. We also have our teen mentorship program, which one of our staff members at Hillcrest facilitates. This is a really great program that engages teens who are passionate about developing a career as a comics creator, and they get to learn how to table at events. They get to learn the best practices for promoting and printing their materials. They get to work with artists and do portfolio reviews. And we also do portfolio reviews throughout the event, so members of the public have the opportunity to bring in their work and have it critiqued by professionals.
So, as we mentioned, this year we're going to be also hosting an event at Irma Heyman House, which is a great cultural asset that the Department of Arts and History owns and opened, I'd say, right around a year-ish ago. So that's going to be on Saturday in the evening after the sort of everything wraps up at the zoo from 8 to 9 p.m. And we're featuring a couple of our guest creators who are bringing in from out of town who are publishers. They have their own publication or publishing companies, and they focus on serving underrepresented communities and getting voices amplified and out there that may not have access to publishing in sort of other ways. So we're excited to be able to offer that and at this new great location, so we can feature this place and bring people in to visit Irma Heyman House. So the reason this can happen every year is because we have sponsors, and as Brian mentioned earlier, when talking about the Library Foundation, they are our largest single supporter of the event. We have a few other sponsors as well. Marathon and Sparklight this year have agreed to sponsor. We have some smaller sponsorships in Battle Quest Comics, which is a comics company out of Portland, and they're running advertisements for the event in their comics, which is very exciting. And then a local comics store called the Collector's Outpost. And then this is really the heart of things, which Renee.
Yes, so we can't make this fabulous event happen without all of our wonderful staff and volunteers. We get staff from all of our divisions participating, which is so fun for everyone to get the opportunity to do some programming together. It's also a great opportunity for the public to get involved, or board members who might be interested. Rebecca helped us out last year, which was fabulous. Volunteers receive a shirt and a poster for participating. We have a lot of different tasks that they can participate in, and schedules are available. We do take volunteers as young as 14 with parents' permission. So if you have any teenagers that need community service hours, they are welcome to help us out. But if you'd like to help us spread the word about volunteers, we are looking for more.
The volunteer sign up form is up on our website, and just last week we made our final guest creator announcement. So this year we're bringing in 32 guest creators, which is a lot. Most we've had before. So if you're interested in learning more about them, the event itself, all of that information is now up on the website and in their biographies and their the work that they do. And this is picture we had to include because we are bringing back dog cosplay this year, and this was from a couple of years ago, and it was amazing. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about BCAF?
Sorry, you'll hear me ask a lot of questions.
That's right.
The first few months of meetings. So how much of, what is the sort of cycle through the year of putting this on? I mean, clearly, it's intense the last month or so, but planning 32 guests, it's got, you gotta be doing this. So kind of give me a sense of the life cycle of it.
So about 2 weeks, we do the post survey right after the event. And then after we get the survey results, about 2 weeks or a month after, we start planning the next year. We start looking at venues and dates, probably in October, November, ideally in October. And start to plan that out. And then we start reaching out to guest creators and reach out to them throughout the year with things like the exhibitor and vendor application. So we open up public applications for anyone who's interested in being an exhibitor. We open those in January, February-ish, usually have them open for a month or two. For the teen mentorship program, we also have an application process for that. We open that in March, so it's before school's out. So we show our teachers in the community so that they can share with their students who they think might be interested in potentially pursuing comics as a career or tabling in an event. So there's kind of stuff going on. There's planning stuff going on sort of as soon as the previous event ends.
Or well, the previous event is happening.
Or also that. The best I did, I always think there's things like, oh, we could do this, but we can't do it this year. So there are things that are already occurring. Next year we've got to work on that. And then in the summer, we run the comic creation contest, which is open to the public where people can image and submit their comic creations, and then we have prizes for those. So there's sort of bits of it kind of going on as far as ways for the public to engage, really starting in the summer, but for some of those signups starts even in the spring, but we're working on it pretty much as soon as the previous one ends.
Any other questions? Looking forward to the event.
I have a
Thank you
quick-
very much.
Oh, I was just gonna share a quick comment. It's really fun and I highly recommend if you have some time to stop by, if you can volunteer. It was a lovely way to meet staff. As a new board member last year, it was really fun to get to work side by side with a lot of folks and have some fun conversations. So it's a great event and a great opportunity to get in there and meet a lot of people pretty quickly. So I do recommend it. It's fun. And the costumes are amazing. I can't wait to see the dogs. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, the dogs have to be outside the zoo. The zoo does not want a bunch of dogs inside the zoo stuff. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is the selection of a trustee to review payment vouchers. And Rebecca, you're next in this driver's seat.
You got it.
Okay, no problems for you, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And selection of the next meeting date, which is our, not only a regular meeting, but an annual meeting, is Wednesday, September 13th. Does that work for everyone? All right, great. And that takes us to adjourning the meeting. I move that we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous, motion carried. Thank you very much.